of this month, and I encourage you to come on in. Um, let's see. This live stream is titled "Why I Decided to Start YouTube in My Mid-50s," and there's plenty of reasons. One thing is it's an outlet. Uh, when we're in our 50s, we've had a lot of experiences, and the events over the last several years have kind of left us kind of isolated in a lot of ways. Maybe everybody in their 50s doesn't feel this way, but I certainly did. I work alone a lot. I'm looking for a community. I know there's probably hundreds of thousands of people who are just like me out there in the universe, out there in America and abroad, that feel the same way as I do, want to communicate with like-minded people. And when I started with woodworking, because when you start YouTube, you don't really know what you're really going for. You've got an idea of what you're going to do, but there's no possible way that you can figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to do it until you just start doing it. So I definitely recommend doing it, and I definitely recommend not worrying about what you're going to go through, what you're going to put out there. Because honestly, the way YouTube is anymore, it doesn't just put your information out there. They have so many videos that are uploaded every day. They can't possibly show your video to everybody that it's intended for in that first day, week, or probably even month. Some of these videos, you see these creators, you see them doing like news programs, and they're uploading 2 or 3 times a day, and they're talking about current events. And yeah, they have huge subscribers, but they didn't start out that way. They've probably done that for years, and before they probably get 100,000 subscribers before they get to a point where they start to explode. And your first videos are going to be so just YouTube's not going to know where to show them to. So what's going to happen is you're going to spend a bunch of time with hesitation and thinking about things and trying to make it perfect, and 5 people are going to see your video, and you're not going to learn how to upload these videos and get them seen, and to know exactly what you're trying to do for quite a while. You're going to need 50 to 100 videos just to kind of get the feel for it and to get a flow of production. Now, I highly recommend just using your phone. Get a cheap little tripod. If you got a Goodwill, go to Goodwill. I see them all the time there. And just get your tripod. Find you a nice quiet place to record. Put your camera on tripod, aim it at you, and push record, and talk about something you want to talk about. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be very long. Just make your first 5-minute video. I really recommend a short video to begin with, because first of all, if you want to edit it, record for 10 or 15 minutes, but you're probably going to cut out a good portion of that anyways when you edit the video. Another thing you want to do is you're going to get some free software. You can get InShot, which is what I started on. It's a free editing software for your phone. I have an Android, and basically, yeah, it's going to have a watermark on it. None of that really matters. The whole thing of it is, in the beginning, if you're not familiar with video production or anything like that, if you want to talk about a couple different things, get you a piece of paper, write down some bullet points, and just go into talking about that. And then after you're done recording, put that file, put that video in your editor, in your video editing app, and just cut out the beginning, the end, and in the middle, cut your ums and ahs out, because you're not going to be used to talking on camera. And that's another thing you're going to have to get used to, is your own voice and what you look like on camera, because when you edit, you're going to see yourself, and it's going to take a little bit of time for you to get to where you can even handle even really looking at yourself or hearing yourself, because you don't sound like you think you do. And then you start nitpicking what you look like. And honestly, yeah, there might be people that are going to comment about what you look like, but ask to see their YouTube video then. I would definitely suggest just making a simple video and upload it, because once you upload it, and then you can start seeing the analytics of YouTube Studio, that is the beginning of starting to understand what YouTube is really all about. This is a new direction for this channel. I did start with woodworking, because when you think about YouTube, you go, oh, well, I like doing woodworking, I'll do woodworking. There's a trap in that, though. In order to make a video, you have to spend time in the workshop building stuff and or fixing stuff, or whatever you're going to record and make a video out of. And you're going to quickly find out that not every day is a great day for recording. Not every day is a great day for being in the workshop. It could be too hot, it could be cold. I live right next to an elementary school, so a good part of the day there is just yelling and screaming from 500 feet away, however much distance it is. It's not very much further than, it's actually closer than a football field length, from where I am to where the playground is now. They just rebuilt the school. Last year was the first year that the kids went to the new building, and last summer, about 2 days before school started, was when they finished the playground. And it is now where the building used to be, and the building is where the playground used to be. So it's a little bit louder than it was 2 years ago. So I kind of have to, I will continue to do some woodworking videos, but I just don't want to get into that trap of making the same video, the same product, the same woodworking project as all the other woodworkers on YouTube. And I don't really want to be that niched down. If you want a lot of viewers, you're going to have to be pretty narrow in scope on what you're talking about. But that's not the point of this channel. This channel is it's not going to be a super niche. It's going to be a little bit broad. I am 57 years old. I have a background in music production. I have years and years of different job experiences, and this doing the YouTube is just an extension of doing music production. It's the same kind of thing, except for it's visual, and I'm learning it late in life. But the audio production is something I do. I do live audio production for a band called Jokers to the Right here in Oklahoma. To them, we only have a few subscribers. I would like to get more subscribers on that channel. Of course, I'd like more subscribers on this channel, but my goal for this channel is not to get 100,000 subscribers. And my goal for this channel is to have a community. I would really like to, I would be ecstatic if I could get 50 people to show up in this live stream and chat about some of the topics and get some feedback from the audience, and to know that my audience is there. But for right now, 85 videos in, I'm switching gears, and it's more out of just switching gears because the necessity of to in order to keep relevant on the YouTube platform. You don't have to do a video every day. You don't have to do a video every week. But in the effort to be consistent, I have set up in this office here to record. I've done recordings out here in front of my workshop and in my workshop, and it just gives me a little bit of variety. I guarantee you're going to realize that you don't know what you don't know. The first thing I did, one of the first videos I did was just a little how-to on cleaning the coils on your window AC unit. And it was short and sweet, and it was kind of a tool review. I bought a tool on Amazon. It wasn't very good. I'm not even sure if that video is still on YouTube. I believe it was kind of embarrassing. Some of my first 5 or 6 videos I made, I just tried to get in front of the camera and get used to it, and it was pretty cringe. And then eventually I just took them off because, one, they weren't performing well anyways. But looking back, I wish I'd have left everything on there, or at least just made them unlisted, because they would still be there for me to go back and look on. It could give you some footage that you could later use in another video. You could re-upload the video, extract the audio out, do a narration, change things around, use parts of that. But yeah, definitely if you're in your 50s, I just highly encourage doing a YouTube channel, because it's, first of all, it's really kind of fun. You get your voice out there, and you get to say whatever it is you want to say, and you don't know what kind of information that could be useful to other people, especially people our age. And I run into younger guys. I really appreciate somebody that kind of has been where they are now. Now, I'm not going to say I'm exactly where this younger generation is now, because when I was their age, we didn't have computers, we didn't have cell phones. I drove across the country with no cell phone, knowing where the hell I was even. So that's a whole different animal right there. But because I have lived experiences, and when I talk to these younger guys, I often find that without even trying, somehow you can give encouragement to other people. You know, they start talking about their relationships or something. Well, there's things I've learned in making my own mistakes that I can pass down, and there's things that you've learned in making your own mistakes that you can pass down to other people too. And it's not looking down on them. It's really just, hey, this is a fellow human being. Let's help them out. I'm sure being 25 years old right now is pretty stressful. I see the videos, all the people stressing out because they don't have experience. They have job opportunities are, in some areas, are not very good, and the rent is extremely high, and it was always high. I mean, don't get me wrong, we made less money back in the 80s and 90s, but everything was cheaper. You know, gas wasn't $4 or $5 a gallon. That's a huge difference right there. And what we used to put a $5 bill in the gas tank and drive around for a couple days, now it's $50, and that $50 is a little bit harder to make than $5 was back then. The next thing you know, that $100 bill is gone, and it used to be breaking at 20. And for a brief period of time, it was breaking a $50 bill, and it would soon be gone. So, you know, that's why you see the rise of frugal living, out of necessity. There's so many things that just take up money. Rent, a place to live, you need to move around. I live in Oklahoma. There's not mass transit. There's no. This town shut out other taxi services, I guess until Uber came around. But there's not much Uber. I see a lot of people walking around that don't have cars, walking back and forth to work. And it's just a small town kind of deal. And if you live in a small town in America, you probably see it too. And the rent, there's a little house behind me here that's probably 900 to 1,000 square foot, and it rents for over $1,000 a month. And it's really not very big. I'm not even sure if it's even 2 bedroom. I think it's a 1 bedroom house. So it's tough out there for the younger people. Yeah, you could make videos and show what you've created. If you have a hobby that you do, I highly suggest just starting with your hobby. If you like painting landscapes on the head of a needle, then make a video about that because people find that stuff interesting. There's a lady that has hundreds and thousands of subscribers, and all she talks about is sewing machines and sewing machine parts. And I've said that before, and I just keep coming back to that. But a certain percentage of those people have the same interest and likes as you do. And those are the people you're going to communicate with. Those are who are going to resonate videos and find your people. Get encouraged to do more. Talk about, build, show, whatever. It's a great time to be alive. It's a hard time to be alive financially. But YouTube is growing. YouTube is bigger than a lot of the media companies, and you can produce your own videos pretty simply and get views and a community built up. And it takes time. Don't kid yourself. Don't think you're going to upload 5 videos and you're going to have even 50 subscribers. That's very rare. First of all, YouTube may not even show your video to 50 people for the first week. So, and that's another reason why you need to get rid of the stigma that people are going to judge you, people aren't going to like you, or whatever, because more than likely your video is not going to be shown to anybody right off the bat, because YouTube doesn't know you. They don't know who your audience is, and YouTube's job is to find people that are going to watch your video and stay on the platform. That's what YouTube wants wants people on YouTube to do. They don't want them to go to Netflix. They don't want them to go to Instagram or TikTok. They want them to stay on the YouTube platform. And if you can tell stories, or if you can show what you're building, then YouTube's going to eventually learn who you are a little bit, a little by little, and you're going to gain viewers. You're going to gain impressions, which is part of the metric. Is the impressions are who YouTube shows you to, where they put your thumbnail on the YouTube screen for every individual out there. Because not everybody's going to see your thumbnail, and not everybody's going to click on your thumbnail. And another thing about being in your 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s, because I've seen 80-year-old people start a YouTube channel and do quite well. The one thing it does is you have more time. You're retired. You're more than likely retired. You have more time to mess with it. And that gives you time to get on the learning curve, and you can really learn a lot about YouTube, the digital landscape here, and you're going to learn a lot about yourself. You're going to learn what your hang-ups are. You're going to learn that when you push the record button, you're going to freeze up. You're not going to think of things to say. And one more thing about the YouTube is the community is the community is greater than views. Yeah, you want views, but one of the first videos I put up, and I don't even remember what video it was. Um, it might have been one where I needed to move a fence panel by myself, and I built a wheel that the fence panel would sit on the other end, and I just grabbed the other end and rolled it to where I needed it. That video is like 19 seconds long, and it gets five five to 10 views a day. And every now and then there's a comment, and it's like, hey, thanks for showing me this, because this is exactly what I needed. There's somebody out there with a problem. You showed them real simply how to fix a problem that they didn't think of, you know. And I made it out of scrap wood, so it's really nothing. And but it helps tremendously, and it helps them. It helps them be more productive in their day. And when you see YouTube, you see a lot of tutorials, a lot of DIY stuff. But you have a unique experience. You might be in business. I talked to a guy the other day, 31 years old. He's been in the office situation in his life, and I never really have. I don't do well in corporate world. I'm fine out here, floundering out here by myself, doing handyman stuff. But those different experiences you can learn from, or you can teach all these different things you've learned throughout your career. And now that you're retired or nearing retirement, you might be thinking, well, maybe I'll do a YouTube channel. And the odds are stacked against you, against even becoming monetized. The numbers of videos out there or channels out there are astronomical. It's like 115 million YouTube channels, and only like 50% of those channels do a monthly upload, so they're not really, half of them aren't even active. So that leaves about 60 million channels that you're kind of competing with, and out of those 60 million, only like 1% even get monetized. And that monetization is 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 watch hours, and there's a lower tier where you get some things. It's like 1,000 subscribers or 500 subscribers and 2,000 watch hours. I'm not sure about it because my focus really isn't on monetization. I think that probably in a few years, some people get monetized in a month or two. And then some people have been on YouTube for 10 years and still not monetized. So if you're thinking of a get rich scheme, this isn't it. But if you're thinking that maybe 5 years down the line you have a couple thousand subscribers and your videos get 100,000 views, yeah, you're going to make a little extra money in your retirement years. It might pay your water bill, and it might pay your YouTube subscription, and a couple other things, and that'd be about it. But that's all right, because that's not really what you're going for. At least that's not what I'm going for. I'm looking for a community out there. And let me put on my glasses and see this chat window, because I haven't been paying attention to it. Oh, we got to sign in the chat. Ah. Alright, bear with me for a second. Here we are again. Another password. I don't remember my YouTube password. But yes, on my phone, it's the easiest way. Yes. Yes, it's me. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Um... Oh, no. No. What am I doing here? Showing videos. Huh. Looks like I'm not the only person that thought of Stolen Bones. There's bands called the Stolen Bones. No, 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 no. Well, I don't know about this chat. Alright, well, I won't be able to see the chats. I need to fix that real quick. I can get on my phone and look at it. Sorry, guys. Just okay. Well, at least I'll be able to see over here if there's anything on the chat. Alright. Sorry about that, guys. If you're watching this on the replay. Alright, next thing I kind of noticed this week. Last week I did a video about flock cameras. And I drove around this town. I found a website that shows you where the flock cameras are in your area. And so I went looking for them. And I didn't find any. They weren't there. Now I know about two and a half years ago here in this town, I heard about the flock camera being put up. And about a week later, they found the stolen car because of it. Well, fast forward to last week or so, and I went looking for the flock cameras. I found a web page that shows you the map of your area and where the flock cameras are. And the thing I realized after I put out the video about flock cameras and how it's just the downside of the flock cameras and how it's affected some people. News articles, hundreds of small towns in America have discontinued the use of flock cameras. Either A, their citizens showed up in city meetings protesting the flock cameras, and then another reason was that after the first 2 years, the city needed to pay for the maintenance and upkeep and use of the flock cameras, and it wasn't in their budget. And I think that's what happened here in this town, is they declined to continue to use the flock cameras because they just didn't want to spend the amount of money out of their budget for the flock cameras. So that is good news in small town America, that the flock cameras are kind of going away. And that's a little update on those. I don't know. I think the bigger cities are probably have flock cameras. They have a bigger. Here in this town with 11,000, 12,000 people, the budget expenditure, probably just don't recall hearing anybody protesting about flock cameras. However, I do know that people don't like them. And she also brought up data centers, which is another thing I want to talk about. These data centers, after hearing about them a little bit, and I heard that they are building 3,500 data centers. Now, I guess some of these data centers are huge. They take up a huge amount of land, and they require a huge amount of water for the cooling of all the circuitries and everything. The amount of heat that is needed to be reduced to keep all the systems running cool. The land and the cooling fans. Apparently they make a lot of noise, and they take up a lot of space and water and resources, huge amount of electricity. And the thing of it, I mean, is witnessed down in Texas a few winters ago. They had a huge power outage and they got hit by an ice storm in an area that's not used to cold, and people died. They froze to death. The amount of frozen water pipes, the loss of life due to our electrical grid just not being that great. And I don't know why that they would give tax incentives to data centers when they should be using the taxes to build up the electrical grid. And that's probably something that we should look into more. I would really I really question the data centers because what they're doing is they're putting them in so many different areas. What they're doing, they're making nodes where these data centers are not centralized at all. If one data center goes down, then 3 more can take up the slack. And really what that's going to do is as AI takes people's jobs, and if they don't put in some kind of UBI for people that are losing these jobs, the people are going to be angry. And when people lose their jobs and they're going to lose their house and their family's falling apart because the finances and everything, people are going to lose their mind. And there will be, I'm not encouraging this at all, but I know worse, they can quickly apprehend these people. They can shut them down. We learned 5 years ago that being online and having an unpopular opinion quickly got you, and I'd like to call it free speech, but when you're using a company, say like YouTube is a private company. they need people to make videos, but they're not at a shortage of people making videos. And so that makes your relevance on what you're talking about doesn't matter so much. If they don't like it, they can shut it down, they can kick you off. The video I put out about the flock cameras didn't get very many impressions. So this video and the video that I will clip out of this live stream, if there's a good segment in there, if it's about the flock cameras and it's the update, then I would be surprised if it gets very many impressions at all, because I kind of think that well, first of all, AI looks at your video, it generates a transcript from what you say, it looks at the transcript, it determines what you're talking about, and you cannot tell me that that doesn't have something to do with how many. I wouldn't start a YouTube channel just starting out talking about um, government surveillance, and it's probably detrimental for me to even talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it anyways. If you're trying to get a big base of subscribers, then you want to be at least not very offensive, you know. But these data centers, they're taking people's land and family homes that are on the fringe of the property for the proposed data centers. They're using not only that, the people that they built a house in the sticks somewhere, and next thing you know, they're building a data center, and their property line is 50 feet from your house. Now you've got to worry about your water supply, your electrical grid, the price of electricity in your area, because demand is spiking so hard that you're going to help pay for the electricity at that data center. And hopefully everything will come about. I really believe that there is probably a unit out there that can attach to your house that generates electricity, and it's probably buried technology that hopefully will come to light soon. I really feel like if we have a space force, that we have technologies that are definitely been hidden for 30 or 50 years. You know, I go back to this in the early 90s when I came home on leave when I was in the Navy, and my mom's neighbor was in the Air Force, and he was talking about AI in 1991. And I did a little research on that, and it's a little bit different AI than what we're talking about now, but they've been working on AI since the 50s. That internet creation was kind of the key for information to be transmitted over the internet, and now it's kind of what's it called? It's the force multiplier on all these things coming together. And it was probably all, thought up all at the same time. But as these steps come along, then you need to have this event happen before this event can happen. Even though they probably started all at the same time. They had their end goals, but for command now. I'm not saying AI is good or beneficial for society. I'm not worried so much that something like Terminator. But one thing we do know already, that humans want to eliminate other humans. So unfortunately, that's probably the way it's going to go, because they've consolidated all this power and wealth into a select few who want the rest of us gone. Hopefully, in the near term, these people will be brought to justice. Their assets taken, redistributed amongst the people that they uh, had as enemies, and alleviate some of the hardship that people are living under now. All right, it's 9:12 in the morning. I got to get busy. One thing I do want to talk about is Jokers to the Right, the band I do sound for. Classic rock cover band here in Oklahoma, and there's several. And classic rock is still alive, just barely. What I notice in these venues um, in the pubs and the bars and the casinos, um, there's no shortage of people still wanting live music. The thing of it is the people that come out to watch live music for classic rock have aged. The people that really appreciate that music are at a point where they want to go to bed at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And many times the gigs don't start until 9. Nighttime people, and they don't really go out, then occasionally they're going to make an effort to go out and see a live band, have a night out. But this age group that appreciates classic rock, fact of nature, as you get older, you want to go to bed earlier. I used to stay up until midnight, 1 o'clock every night, and wake up the next morning at 6:30 and go to work. And here in the last year or so, I've go to bed at least an hour or two earlier than what I did in my 40s. And I don't move around that fast in the mornings either. So I could probably actually benefit from going to bed a little bit earlier. My mind just doesn't want me to do it. But getting back to the classic rock cover band, go over to Joker's Tibers so we could do some live streams. Because they're doing cover tunes, I have to work around some of the copyrights. Some of them don't. I don't know. It's a little bit different. They don't think it's the same song. But some have not copyright strikes. They're copyright. They don't really care, and it doesn't affect the channel. I suspect that if the channel had 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 they would probably take any ad revenue and give it to ASCAP. I guess that's what they would do, or BMI, or BMG Music Group, or whatever. But if you like classic rock or rock and roll at all, just go over there to Jokers to the Right YouTube page and just please subscribe to them. I try to put some videos up there every now and then. They might be 30 seconds or whatever, because right now I haven't really figured out what direction that channel should go in. It's kind of hard doing live music, getting a good recording that's, recorded on my phone, that's going to be reflective of what the band actually plays, because they play excellent. So go over there. And another thing I want to say about on Marketplace, I was just flipping through Marketplace the other day and found a video, or not a video, I found an item up for sale, and it was a 10-stack CD burner for mass burning of CDs. Now, I remember 20 years ago when I was recording stuff at home on my computer and making discs, that seemed like a really good piece of equipment. It's one of those pieces like a blank CDs. You can, for bands or media companies, or even companies that had like instructional videos that they were putting out, And that was a way of life for some people that had that equipment. That equipment was pretty high dollar, and you could burn CDs 10 at a time. You could probably burn 150, 200 CDs in a day, and companies would pay you for those CDs. And it's just one of those things that is now on Facebook Marketplace, and this unit is in line with everything else. As new technology comes along, CDs went to the wayside, just like classic rock is no longer really played on very many radio stations. The classic rock cover bands, they don't draw 200 people in like they did a decade ago, even. Because the audience is getting older, growing up with the internet, and these classic rock songs, for those of us that are older, they are the soundtrack of our lives. We grew up listening to the radio with these songs playing in the background. We know what the sounds sound like. We know what the songs sound like. We are reminded of a point in time in our life that these songs remind us of. Out, and I'm not going to say that classic rock is ever going to be dead, because younger people are discovering it every day. But the era of playing a new song on the radio, and within a couple days, everybody in the country hearing that song for the first time in the same time frame, that just doesn't happen anymore because of streaming. People may still hear a song in mass, but it's not like it was back in the day where you actually had to stop and listen to that radio to hear that song. In the MTV era, there was times when Michael Jackson had a new video, and they would hype that for a week, maybe longer, and then like 70 million people would tune in to watch that video when it first came out. And that was a unifying experience for everybody that people just don't have anymore. They might see a TikTok video with a portion of a new song, and they're like, oh, what's that? I think there's a country song that kind of blew up not too long ago because of TikTok. And actually, a coworker, my wife's coworker, actually did a little dance to the TikTok, and he got flown out to meet her, and they made a little video together. Kind of a big deal, but it wasn't a national big deal per se, where everybody in 20 years is going to remember where they were in their life when they. I appreciate your viewership. I'd appreciate a subscribe or like, or next time you see me doing a live, come on here and get in the chat. I would love to chat with you. Until next time, have a good week, and I hope you have a great day.